yeah, in-season tournament, we got this.
Big
like
crash.
Noah Gregson, Austin Cindric. This is what we talk about.
How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove, ready to debrief an epic evening at Echo Park Atlanta Motor Speedway. 'Twas a night of firsts. First TNT Cup Series race in over a decade, first race of NASCAR's all-new in-season challenge. Tyler Reddick got his first stage win of the season. Finally, Chase Elliott gets his first win of the year, snaps a year-plus long winless streak. We'll get to that in just a moment, and so much more. But we need to begin with the big moment of the race, the turning point, if you will. For some reason, whenever race car drivers are forced to sit still, they completely forget how to race once it's time to go back green. Last night in the Xfinity Series race, there was an hour-and-a-half red flag for weather, drivers back in their cars, restart, pile up. Tonight, there was a shorter red flag for weather late in stage 1, finish up the stage, go back racing in stage 2, and oh my goodness. What? It's just an ordinary big one. Oh my goodness! That's the whole field. I know we talk about Atlanta being a mini Daytona, mini Talladega. That means the big ones are supposed to be mini, right? That is by far the biggest crash I can remember seeing since they reconfigured Atlanta into what it is today. I mean, we've seen some big wrecks on the backstretch, but that is a full-fledged cinematic pileup. Like, that's what Hollywood thinks stock car racing crashes look like. So many contenders were wiped out in this one. Austin Cindric, who won the opening stage. His teammate Joey Logano, a past Atlanta winner who sat on the pole. 3-time Daytona winner Denny Hamlin swept up. 2-time defending Daytona winner William Byron involved. And so many more, many of which were unable to continue. Others, like Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, limped home the rest of the way. It's hard to put the blame on any one person. The outside lane checks up, stack up heading into turn 3, and they all go spinning. It's the big one. You turn Atlanta into a super speedway type race, sometimes the big one is inevitable. Just brutal, though. Some of the drivers taken out in this, I mentioned, Logano, Cindric, Josh Berry, who was, of course, really fast out of the Penske shop. Ryan Blaney was caught up in a crash right before the end of stage 1 when Christopher Bell, the most recent Atlanta winner, got loose and wrecked. So by the end of stage 1, early stage 2, by early stage 2, you had the most recent Atlanta winner, Bell, arguably the favorite Blaney, his teammates Logano, Cindric, Berry, Denny Hamlin, William Byron. The heaviest hitters were all taken out before lap 100. Just crazy stuff. By the time the smoke had cleared and you could see who was left, only one driver running in the top 22 positions had a win this season. Shane Van Gisbergen. The other 21 cars running up front, winless on the season, many of them in must-win, desperate situations. I tweeted this. It looked like the All-Star Open. Guys like Nemechek and Zane Smith and Ty Gibbs battling for the win. Like, it looked like the All-Star Race prelim. A bunch of hungry, again, in some cases desperate, winless drivers vying for their ticket into the 2025 postseason. After the big one, this was a completely different race with arguably much more at stake. Atlanta Motor Speedway, or Echo Park Speedway if we're being politically correct, has quickly become the most exciting, the most edge-of-your-seat racetrack on the Cup Series schedule. There's no argument. It has become a much better version of Daytona or Talladega than Daytona or Talladega themselves. In some ways, Atlanta now is what Daytona was like 20 years ago. Pre-repave, pre-next-gen car, handling matter. There were gaps in the draft. Drivers could slingshot from one lane to the next. You can't do that with the next-gen now at super speedways. It's fuel safe, fuel safe, fuel safe. Finally, time to go. Gridlock, can't go anywhere. Hope you get the push at the right time, and then you hope the wreck doesn't fall in your lap. That's what Daytona and Talladega have become now. They've in some ways become a joke, if we're being completely honest. Atlanta is what Daytona used to be. Drivers in control of their own runs, in control of their destiny. Yes, you need a push at the right time, but you can make moves on your own. Carson Hocevar in the spring was the perfect example of that. Had no teammates up front all night. He almost won the damn race. Tonight, Brad Keselowski was left on an island, yet he was almost able to fend off two hungry Hendrick Chevrolets. He had Zane Smith, Ricky Stenhouse, Tyler Reddick beating down his back bumper, but Brad Keselowski, the super speedway juggernaut that he is, we all know Brad for a decade plus, one of the best super speedway drafting racers in Cup, showed his skill tonight, and almost won this race despite having no drafting help at the end. Atlanta Motor Speedway is the best super speedway on the NASCAR schedule. It's not even close. It's what Daytona and Talladega used to be. Pre-repaves, pre-next gen car. This race, after the big one, was phenomenal. Was everything fans want a super speedway race to be. So much passing, comers and goers, a lot of single or two car incidents, guys getting loose, putting people up in the wall, Ty Gibbs spinning SVG down the front stretch. Little mishaps, little mistakes, small isolated incidents. That's really what Atlanta's been for the most part the past 3 or 4 years on the Cup side. We haven't seen a big one like this before. Usually it's smaller isolated incidents. The second half's final 2/3 of this race were absolutely phenomenal. And some of that was Penske had been knocked out, 3 of the 4 Gibbs cars had been knocked out. Half of Team Hendrick essentially had been knocked out. So you were left with, again, a lot of younger, hungry, desperate drivers willing to make bold moves from green flag to checkered. What a show. What a show. Where do we go from here? I guess we talk about the finish. We talk about some of the top finishers. Chase Elliott winning at his home track in his home state, just a couple hours from his hometown of Dawsonville, Georgia. That was the cherry on top. Chase Elliott was up front almost all night. He and his Hendrick teammates worked their way up into the top 10. By the end of stage 1, Elliott earned a couple stage points. He missed the huge wreck, obviously, and then he earned more stage points in stage 2. Elliott was one of only a couple of drivers to earn points in both stages, so the speed in that car was not a fluke. What was kind of fluky in some ways was him finding his teammate Alex Bowman with 2 laps to go. The lead cars were zigging and zagging, bobbing and weaving that entire final run. It almost felt like coincidence that Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman found each other with 2 to go, because it didn't seem like they planned it that way. They'd hung each other out throughout that final run. They'd made moves on each other. They weren't exactly loyal to each other that whole final run, but coming to the white, Alex Bowman suddenly has Chase Elliott, his teammate, in his lap. What else is he going to do? He's going to push him. That's what it was going to take to beat Brad Keselowski, who I applauded earlier. Great super speedway racer, showed that skill once again tonight. The only way you were beating Brad Keselowski in his fast RFK Ford was 2 against 1. Bowman, Elliott pushing their way past Brad Keselowski. And then once Elliott got clear to the lead, Bowman could have pushed Brad, tried to get him up there side by side. Instead, Bowman made a move on Brad to kill the 6's momentum. I don't know that Bowman was going to win the race with that move, but that move made sure that the 6 wasn't going to beat the 9. Bowman down the back ensured a Hendrick car was going to win this race. So Chase Elliott gets the win in front of his home fans. Hadn't won a race in over a year. Texas last spring. Alex Bowman gets a 3rd place finish, a huge points night. He came in right there close to the bubble. He's still position-wise near the bubble. We'll look in a moment, but now he's padded his points lead a bit. Going to a couple of road courses. He won at Chicago last summer. He still will have more opportunities to get that win or to pad his points cushion. But back to Chase Elliott. We saw probably the most emotional version of Chase Elliott we've ever seen, frankly. I almost saw a tear to his eye when he looked up at the Atlanta Motor Speedway crowd and said, this right here, this is something I'll never forget. Shoot, I almost got emotional. I never thought I'd get emotional watching Chase Elliott get emotional, because Chase Elliott doesn't get emotional, but I was feeling something through the screen. Really, really cool moment for Chase Elliott to win in front of his home fans, to snap a losing streak, to lock into the playoffs officially, add some playoff points to the bank, and to win in that special paint scheme too, with the kid who designed it there on the front stretch to celebrate. Just amazing stuff. Amazing stuff all around from Chase Elliott, Hendrick Motorsports, Napa Auto Parts, the whole team. Really, really cool moment. Some of y'all questioned last week why I'd moved Chase Elliott so high up in my power rankings this week. he's had pretty good speed the last few weeks, and I know how good Hendrick is at Atlanta. Safe to say I made the right call last week. Can't say the same about my in-season challenge bracket, but we'll talk about that in a moment. For now, let's take a look at some other top finishers. For a little while, it looked like Brad Keselowski was in a great position to win this race. He was up front with his teammate Chris Buescher there as a second line of defense, but then some of the cars with fresher tires like Stenhouse, Reddick, I think Hocevar, a few others got up there, mixed things up. Buescher fell back. Their other teammate Ryan Preece, who was up there but had damage, fell back. And then Keselowski was left on an island. And like I said, 2 Hendrick cars versus 1 Roush car. As good as the Roush car was in this case, the math is not mathing. Keselowski finishes second. Still a great result, but where he's at in points, he needs to win. This was a great opportunity. Came up just short. Third, Alex Bowman. Just talked about him. I guess we can say he was a good teammate, but with Elliott in his lap, Bowman had no other choice but to push him past the 6 car. Great result for Bowman, who was up front racing for the lead the entire second half of this race, post big one. Good third place result, again important when you look at the points. Tyler Reddick finishes 4th. He struggled to put a full race together recently, but was up front all night. Looked like Superman at times, racing his way through the field. He finishes a strong 4th. In 5th, Eric Jones' Legacy Motor Club continues to impress week in, week out. A few more notable finishers. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. overcame a late pit road penalty to finish 6th. Zane Smith finishes a strong 7th in the Aaron's Dream Machine. Ty Dillon was in the center of the action almost all night. Made contact with Justin Haley and spun the 7 around, which was disappointing because Haley, great super speedway racer, we've seen him win Xfinity Series races for Kaulig, was in the top 5, had a great run going. Ty Dillon got into him. Also, I saw Dillon get into Ty Gibbs towards the end there, put him in the wall. Great speed from Ty Dillon, but he was in the center of the action. Chris Buescher holds on for a top 10 in the beautiful Cinnamon Toast Crunch car. And Carson Hocevar, runner-up here in the spring, got a piece of the big one early, overcame that, dealt with right front damage the rest of the race, got himself a top 10 when it's all said and done. Impressive work there. Connor Zilic, the 18-year-old, in just his 3rd career Cup start, stayed out of trouble, missed all the wrecks, finishes 11th, got the experience he came here to get. And shout out to Cody Ware. Caught some strays this week on social media when the new Rick Ware Racing owner said that he would be keeping Cody in the 51. He shows up tonight and gets himself 13th place finish. Well done. Here's a quick look at the playoff bubble with 8 regular season races to go, I believe. A couple of road courses coming up back to back. We still have Daytona in August. But as you can see, Chase Elliott is off the bubble now thanks to that win. Tyler Reddick has a huge points cushion. Unlikely that we see 4 or 5 new winners that aren't named Tyler Reddick, so he's probably safe. Chris Buescher, Alex Bowman, really big nights, pad their points cushion a bit, but you know they both want wins. With a couple of road courses back-to-back, AJ Allmendinger, Michael McDowell, Daniel Suarez, you name it, hunting for a victory. They may not be safe where they're at currently. They need to win a race or stack a tremendous amount of points. Bubba Wallace finds himself 16th on the playoff grid, just hanging on. Priest, Jones, Allmendinger, Hoser, so on and so on. Yeah, there is a mathematical way they could point their way in, but most likely they'll need to win. Again, someone like an Allmendinger or McDowell, Justin Haley at Daytona, someone from well below the cut line is going to upset the playoff grid. The cut line is likely going to move at least one position. Pointing your way in from down here is going to be difficult. These guys are eyeing victory lane, no doubt. Now, it's time for a new post-race segment. The in-season challenge is here. NASCAR's mid-season tournament. Head-to-head driver matchups, a bracket. Yeah, we knew Atlanta was going to be a wild card opener with a lot of upsets, but I was not expecting the big one to bust my bracket so soon. Let's take a look at tonight's 16 matchups, and we'll discuss who is advancing to the next round of the in-season challenge. Beginning with 32 seed Ty Dillon upsetting the 1 seed Denny Hamlin. Hamlin caught up in the wreck. Ty Dillon, we just talked about, got through and advances. Yeah, I got that prediction wrong. 0 for 1. I'm 0 for many, I think, this week. I had Busch overtaking Brad. Obviously, that's not what happened. Busch was a casualty of the big one. He was on the lead lap late, but had too much damage to contend. Alex Bowman defeats Joey Logano. Yeah, that's a huge upset. Bowman's a fine super speedway racer, but Joey's like one of the best cars. Huge upset there. Bubba Wallace does move on past Daniel Suarez. That's good. And hey, that's my first prediction I got right. I'm 1 for 4. Nemechek over Barry. Hey, I had Chase Elliott too. All right, wait, I'm coming back. Oh, I had Chastain beating Eric Jones. Dang it. Hated to see that colorful Wendy's Frosty car get destroyed so early. And Stenhouse, in my opinion, with an upset over Christopher Bell. Noah Gragson beats Chase Briscoe. Ryan Preece beats William Byron. Byron, the points leader, eliminated after round 1. That's Atlanta. Sometimes you win the Daytona 500 thanks to a fortunate crash. Sometimes the unfortunate crash takes you out of a shot at $1 million. Live by the pack racing, die by the pack racing. That's William Byron. Carson Hocevar moving on. The Hocevar-Blaney matchup was one I was eagerly anticipating, and watching Carson go from 30th to 7th in the first 30 laps of this race, gets up there in the top 5 battling with Blaney. I thought we were in for an all-timer. Then Blaney gets caught up in a wreck, so never had a chance. That's unfortunate. Story of Blaney's season, I think 6 DNFs in 18 races. That's a 33% clip. That is not good. Really unlucky. There's not really any other way to say it. Tyler Reddick is moving on past Kyle Larson. Yeah, that blows up my bracket in a big way. I had Larson going all the way to the Final Four. I had Larson winning the whole thing. Good road racer, good at Dover and Indy coming up. As long as Larson got through Atlanta like he did in the spring, I felt good about my Larson win pick. But yeah, that is over after 1 week. Dang, dang, darn. Good thing I didn't put any real money on this. That was all show money that I threw in the air earlier, in case anyone was wondering. AJ Allmendinger finishes ahead of Michael McDowell. That was a close battle at the end because McDowell got his lap back and was, in the mix. But 2 great road racers. Allmendinger now heading to Chicago and Sonoma back-to-back. Great shot for AJ to make a deep run for the $1 million. Ty Gibbs over Justin Haley. Zane Smith moves on. And hey, okay, one of my Final Four picks, Chris Buescher, is advancing. So I have Elliott and Buescher in my Final Four. I also had Larson and Kyle Busch. So half of my Final Four is still alive, at least. I mean, that's something. Yeah, where's my bracket again? I want to rip that piece of paper up again. But there you go. That's who's moving on after tonight's first round of the in-season challenge. Later this week, we'll look at the remaining matchups and talk about who the favorites are heading into the Chicago street race. But for now, let's bring out the Groovy Gauge powered by Electric E-Bikes. Head to electricebikes.com. Link in the description to find a ride that suits you. Yeah, it did kind of suck to see such a huge crash at the very beginning of the race. 60, 70 laps into a 260 lap race, to see so many great cars, great drivers taken out so soon. That was a bummer. Definitely knocks my score down at least a few points, but the quality of racing from middle of stage 2 through stage 3 gained some of those points right back. Oh my gosh. I made a note in here because towards the end of this race, Dale Jr. in the booth says, things have slowed down up front. And then the moment he finished saying that, Zane Smith makes a slingshot move for the lead. So even when things weren't happening, things were happening. That's how action-packed this race was. Stands looked full for a Saturday night race despite weather threatening. Atlanta Motor Speedway got to be one of the hottest tickets in NASCAR. I think it was Dale Jr. actually who coined that phrase a year or two back, and he's exactly right. I stand by what I said at the beginning. Atlanta Motor Speedway right now is the most exciting racetrack on the Cup Series schedule. I'm not going to necessarily say best because I know, full throttle drafting style racing isn't everyone's cup of tea. I completely get that, but you can't deny this is edge of your seat stuff. As an all-around racetrack, Darlington is tough to beat. Kansas with this car, Homestead, phenomenal, but exciting, thrilling, spectacular. Atlanta is top of the charts right now. And from lap, when did they restart after the big wreck? Lap 75 on, this was an amazing super speedway style race. I am going to go 90% on the Groovy Gauge. If we don't have a 25 car pileup at the end of stage 1, this might be close to a 100. This might be close to a perfect score, but seeing so many great cars wrecked out on the back straightaway so early, that's a bummer, because while it was fun to see Keselowski and Buescher and Elliott and Bowman, great drivers duke it out up front, we were missing the Logano factor, the Hamlin factor. Like, there were some great drivers missing from that battle who never got a chance to really show their stuff in that race. So that was a bummer, but isn't going to hurt my score too much. 90% on the Groovy Gauge for me. Let me know if you agree or disagree down in the comment section below. I'll wrap up with a couple quick thoughts on TNT, their first Cup Series race broadcast of the season. First time TNT has covered a Cup Series race since like 2014? Is that right? It's been over a decade, I'm pretty sure. When did NBC join the fold? 2015? So yeah, I think it was 2014. It's been a long time. Same booth we got used to with Prime of Adam Alexander, Dale Jr., Steve Letarte. They were phenomenal, hadn't missed a beat, obviously. All of the on-air talent I thought was great. I loved seeing Shannon Spake with the McMurray and Kligerman doing the pre and post race like booth show. I thought Pit Road was great. Marty Snyder walking through the garage when we're running through the garage trying to get their cars fixed was compelling television. Danielle Trotta on Pit Road was awesome. Alan Cavana on Pit Road was awesome. I'm probably forgetting some people who are awesome, but I thought all of the on-air talent did a great job. It was a little jarring to go back to, full screen commercials over green flag action. They did a lot of side-by-sides, but they did some full screen ads. Now, I was watching actually through HBO Max because I don't have traditional cable. I have Fubo, and Turner does not have a deal with Fubo, so I have to watch Turner Sports through HBO Max. And on HBO Max, there were no side-by-sides. It was all full screen ads. I'm like, I'm paying extra for your streaming service, and I'm the one who gets 100% full screen ads. So that was jarring. I got used to the side-by-sides with Prime Video the past few weeks, but it's traditional network television. You're going to get some of that. I understand. Graphics all looked good. I think my only real gripe with TNT tonight was the sound mixing. Am I the only one who felt like the ambient noise of the cars, the engines, were a little muffled at times? Like, it wasn't as clear, wasn't as gnarly as I'm used to seeing with Prime, or dare I say even Fox. And I don't like Fox's sound design at all. Their mixing is abominable. TNT may have still been better overall at sound than Fox was, but like the actual sound of the cars, am I the only one who thought they sounded a little muffled, just slightly out of tune on the TNT broadcast? Very minor thing, but something I noticed and figured I'd mention. I hate when like teachers say there's no such thing as an A+. I don't give out hundreds. I don't give out perfect scores. I hate when people say that. Sometimes you deserve an A+, but I also like to find room that you can still grow. If I just come out the gate saying, yeah, TNT gets an A+, then they get complacent. And I don't want them to get complacent. Not after one race, not after one broadcast. There's still some small things they could improve on. The sound was the one thing I noticed, but overall good. The booth, in my opinion, is extremely important. They bring the energy, and Adam Alexander, Steve Letarte, and Dale Jr. have brought that energy the past few weeks. Really love that. I didn't see much of the alt cast on True TV with Larry Mack and Jeff Burton, focused mainly on the in-season challenge. Some of the clips I saw reminded me of the Manning cast that ESPN does for Monday Night Football. So maybe I'll check that out more in the coming weeks. But yeah, that was my thoughts on the broadcast. Let me know what you thought of TNT's debut down in the comment section below. But that's going to do it for this video, folks. I think we've covered all the big moments, all the main storylines I wanted to highlight. I appreciate you all watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like. Subscribe as well if you're new to the channel. We talk NASCAR every week, every post-race show. Also talk news, rumors, and much more Monday through Friday, every single week, all year. Greatly appreciate all of your support. I will see you guys again probably Monday. Enjoy your Sunday, I guess. Free Sunday. Rare for NASCAR fans. Have a great rest of your weekend, folks, and I'll talk to you again this coming week.